What's up, everybody? Clark here in comfort as Atlanta sports fans are absolutely reeling right now. It's Atlanta Hawks are on a 7-game losing streak with a record of 15-19 after tonight's loss, 140-129 to Oklahoma City Thunder. The Atlanta Falcons as well, they're already out of the playoffs. Tonight, they had shades of 28-3 versus the 2025-2026 Los Angeles Rams, pulling out the 27-24 victory there in the last minute with a game-winning field goal. My goodness, 28-3 to this version of the Los Angeles Rams would be some absolutely dirty work. But thankfully, they saved the Atlanta Sports from the potential Monday double dip. We normally see that on Sunday for Atlanta sports fans, seeing 2 losses in a row. To top the cherry on the cake of the despair of Atlanta sports right now, the Hawks are rumored to be interested in trading Atlanta legend Trae Young from the Hawks. Atlanta sports fans are down bad despite today's Falcons win in a lost season. We need the Atlanta Braves to save us and make a big splash, signing a big fish, acquiring a big fish. There's a big fish with a big deadline coming up this Friday with Tatsuya Mai. His deadline from his NPB franchise, his Japan Professional Nippon League baseball team to be signed, is this Friday, and hopefully the Braves come in and strike a deal. So in today's episode, we'll be reliving some of the best moments of BOS Sports Blogcast in 2025. Well, I'll be talking potential trades for Atlanta Hawks. Thankfully, fans are united on the franchise not trading cornerstone and top 10 player in the NBA, Jalen Johnson. Absolutely ridiculous idea. Thankfully, everyone else thinks, though. Going down from there, there's varying opinions, as there's some very dubious propositions with the Atlanta fan base. And I'll be going through all of them today instead of a game recap. It was a valiant effort, and we saw a lot of great play by his Hawks team. Quinn Snyder, I think he gets too much hate. We'll get on that a little bit, and I think today's great effort versus the Thunder was a display of how Quinn Snyder's offense is a blessing to the Hawks franchise. So every game, as Quinn Snyder is reported in recent interviews, Zachary Richer, he's building better habits. He spoke to that team-wise, but I think that especially applies to Zachary Richer. And I'm about dismayed by the trade suggestions for Zachary Richer, absolutely lowballing him, including him in Anthony Davis trade with just AD coming in return, along with all of our players and potentially picks as well. It just seems like a ludicrous idea. Every game he builds better, and I think he has a very high ceiling still. Potential to be great in a lot of areas on the court. I've said in previous episodes and still reiterate, I think Zachary Richer has the potential and ceiling to be shades or somewhat like, if not similar, exactly to Kawhi Leonard's game. I think he can be an absolute two-way force on the court and shown tremendous flashes of talent in areas Kawhi is known for, such as tonight. In tonight's game versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, there in the clutch in the fourth quarter, we saw some absolute clamps by Zachary Richer. There in some sequences on arguably maybe a top 3, top 5 guard all-time, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with the numbers he's putting up. And Richer put those kinds of defensive efforts on him. Of course, we've seen recently, and the big thing on Richer is he keeps fouling, he keeps biting on fakes. And just a week ago, we saw him versus Josh Giddey absolutely get manhandled and bit on a Josh Giddey fake. Got caught in the air, got some contact, got a foul. We saw him in the first quarter today get 2 quick fouls, had to be removed from the game. So there's still, of course, a lot of development for Zachary Richer to get the on-ball defense capabilities of Hall of Famer shoe-in Kawhi Leonard. So that is still a bit ways to go, obviously. But I still think that Richer has that ceiling as well on the offensive side of the ball. Ricochet, he is supposed to be coming into the league a more polished three-point shooter than Kawhi, although you look at all of their numbers, points per game, assists per game, minutes per game, all pretty similar first couple of years, Ricochet and Kawhi Leonard. So we're seeing Ricochet now with a very first versatile shot form. Saw him game earlier this week, take a runner in the lane. A nice drive, a nice step back, just simply didn't fall. Came a little bit, I believe that one was a little bit long. But we're seeing him with a huge amount of confidence shooting from anywhere, not only on the court, but especially from beyond the three-point line. Zachary Ricochet, he was 4 from 8 from downtown tonight. He shot 9 shots tonight. 8 of those were 3 balls, and he was 50% in that category. And this marks his 5th game in the last 6. Of course, these are all losing efforts, 7-game losing streak, but Zachary Ricochet in 5 of the last 6 Hawks games has shot over 50% beyond the jumper. So I think he's reaching and climbing towards that ceiling potential of having that wet jumper from nearly anywhere on the court, such as we see Kawhi Leonard. That was a very Kawhi Leonard-esque step back he took in the lane the other night. It was just a little bit long. So the Atlanta Hawks, they were without tonight Jalen Johnson, Trae Young, and of course Kristaps Porzingis. We got the update that he's now day-to-day after his 2-week absence. Jalen Johnson, he's dealing with an illness. Hopefully him and Trae Young, who's out with a quad contusion, are both back for 3 p.m. game versus the Timberwolves. Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Weber. Oh, goodness. What an episode tonight. It'll be a lot of fun. So, 3 p.m. matinee for the Hawks versus the Timberwolves. Wednesday for a New Year's Eve party, pre-party game, that is. 3 p.m. you can still catch in a nap and stay up way past New Year's and have a great party. So, the game is here in Atlanta, the Party City, so why not? So there are multiple reports now getting down to this. As mentioned earlier in the top of this episode, there are multiple reports. One of my all-time favorite NBA players, certainly all-time favorite NBA Hawk player, Trae Young, being rumored up for trade. At this time, I think trade talks are too soon for Trae Young. We have not seen Jalen Johnson, Trae Young, and Kristaps Porzingis on the floor healthy together for a substantial amount of time. Of course, Trae Young, he went down early in the season. He came back, of course, a week or two ago, and Kristaps Porzingis, he's been out the entire time. Since then, Jalen Johnson, he's not even a full year removed from that shoulder surgery, and I still think that he's holding back, and rightfully and smartly so. Smartly, I don't think that's a word. Very cleverly so, holding back on defense. We don't quite see him making the same contests he used to on defense. You got to protect that shoulder and keep strengthening it, building it up. No sense of giving that level of effort and risk in the paint, contesting shots as Jalen Johnson did before that injury. He was an absolute force blocking shots in the lane. And right now, I think we see, especially with him in the game, I think other teams know this and have attacked it. So I would like to see Trae Young, this combination of Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, and Jalen Johnson in January, and see where things go from there before we start really talking about potentially trading Trae Young, as he still has his player option for next year. And right now, I think that would be a smart move for him to opt into that as opposed to testing the free agency market. So right now, things are looking like Hawks and Trae Young should absolutely stay together for now. It has been disappointing how disorganized the Atlanta Hawks have looked on both offense and defense with the few games that Trae Young has been back. Would hope that the work they put in the offseason would come through, even with the timeout from Trae. As well, my take from the offseason of the Hawks being a huge playoff threat if Trae Young regains his shooting form. shooting touch, or aptly put. If you were to do that, have regain a shooting touch he had prior to his shoulder injury, I was thinking the Hawks would do really good this year, be a bona fide playoff team and be a real threat. But that take was missing one very important other piece of the puzzle. Trae Young has not displayed last season, the same ability to drive by defenders as he had in previous years. We hope that was due to his nagging Achilles tendonitis that plagued him all of last season. I do think that hindered him, and I do think he came into this season quicker and healthier, coming back from that injury last year as plaguing him. But the one X factor I did not keep in mind and think of and missed out on in that take was the league getting so much faster and athletic as it has this season. NBA is kind of a ridiculous point. We just saw last week, Norman Powell in the Heat, he's having a resurgent season. Every team seems to be absolutely lucking out, absolutely being thoughtful in their development and off-season training of these players. And just league-wide, team-to-team, players seem more athletic, faster than they ever have. And I was not expecting it to be quite at this level as it has this year. It's been pretty impressive. And, of course, national broadcasts have talked about how the game's in a great state. And this is exactly what they mean of teams working, constantly developing, constantly getting better at all angles on the floor. And for this Hawks team, and what it means for Trae Young, we saw Trae Young in the Knicks game. He's Saturday versus the Knicks. He struggled to drive by Knicks backup guard Tyler Kolek. At that point, I realized we need him to have his elite first step and blow-by skills in addition to his pre-surgery injury shooting capabilities and the defense and intangibles as well he's brought in recent years for the Hawks to be a contender with this roster. And that's quite a dubious combination. After the major injury scare he had this season, is likely unrealistic that he has a long way to go to get that leg back to strength and up to a level he can get around defenders in this new, much more athletic version of the NBA that we are seeing this season. So that puts my hopes of Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Johnson all finally getting healthy this month and succeeding and looking like a nice bona fide playoff team. Quite dubious at several angles, which is very hard to stomach right now as a huge Trae Young fan. And wanting him to be on the Hawks, lifting up a Larry O'Brien trophy one day. That dream might be on the rocks right now. Just for fun, earlier today, I did post some Trae Young trade scenarios on my X account. Would be absolutely wild seeing as a fan. But if the Hawks healthy with KP, Trae Young, JJ, January doesn't lead anywhere. We really don't know if KP is going to be ever healthy again. Some degree. It might be an unfortunate reality to be parting with Trae Young this season as opposed to next after he opts into his last year, his contract. He does have a player option, could choose to go elsewhere this offseason if we do think he's unhappy here for some reason. So the Kings were rumored to want a long-term solution to the point guard position. And taking that and making it into a trade proposal for Trae Young for them is highly dubious. But that's exactly what I did. And I was the first one to propose it, and others echoed it. It's kind of funny. I don't know. It wasn't that serious a trade proposal. Trae Young, he'd have to re-sign with the Kings. What the Kings going to offer Trae Young a super max after a trade in February? That seems like a highly dubious proposition, but that's what it's based around. The proposal. Excuse me, I made this proposal yesterday. No, not today. The Kings, they own their 2026 first-round draft pick and will likely be a lottery pick. Getting that up for Trae Young is highly dubious as well for them. Now, a proposal that makes a lot more sense that I made today is for Trae Young to go to the Rockets, which would make a ton of sense for Houston, and including the Kings in a three-way trade. The problem with that is the Rockets don't really have the attractive kind of draft capital that would appeal to the Kings to get that done. I suggested 2 first-round picks, one of which I think was Phoenix's for 2027, a second-round draft pick. So 2027 pick is pretty nice, but Kings would have to give up DeRozan as well. Van Vliet would be going to the Hawks, an injured player. Went down with ACL earlier this year for the Rockets, so the Hawks would get DeRozan, Van Vliet, Jeff Green from the Rockets, just another player that makes the situation work. And as well, they'd be getting from the Kings their first-round draft pick. The Kings would be getting 2 first rounds from the Rockets, including 2027 Phoenix pick. That might be pretty decent. A second-round draft pick. The problem is Rockets really don't have any relatively attractive draft picks outside of that 2027 pick, unless you're working in late this decade. And Rockets will probably fall off. I mean, there's no way they're going to be able to keep up this core for a long time with KD at his age. So they're likely a short-term team, and that might make Trae Young make even more sense. They're looking good this year. West, there's 2 teams, Spurs and Thunder. Beyond that, the East might be a pushover in the finals. So just got to get by one of those teams, really. And Trae Young might make a ton of sense for them, but Rockets, I'm not sure what they'd have to give up draft capital-wise. My proposal of those 2 first-round picks in the second, I don't think that gets it done. I think they'd be looking at something like a 4-pick situation, 3 first rounds and second or so. So at that point, Rockets might be out. I saw a rumor, someone talking about Amin Thompson for Trae Young. That makes no sense to the Rockets. They need to keep Thompson for a potential finals run. I think that was a Spurs fan, so that makes a little bit of sense. Who wants some cut? All right. So one last thing before we get to our best BOS Sports in 2025. One last thing. Quinn Snyder is a popular target of other people who talk about Hawks basketball. And I think they're completely wrong on Quinn. I'm not sure what their angle is as far as potentially wanting their guy in the coaching position, whoever their guy might be, or if they just simply creating some kind of engagement thing to help their engagement or whatever. I don't know, but I think Quinn Snyder is a great coach, offensive genius, and tonight performance as well as a development genius. Not sure about his defense, but tonight's performance of Hawks vs. Thunder is a good example. He has implemented a complex motion offense, which we saw executed to perfection by the Hawks players that were there. A lot of players that some would sum up to be role players, and they kept it close versus the NBA champion Thunder. And Quinn Snyder's complex motion offense is consistent with that of modern NBA, which the contenders strive for now, much of which is inspired by mid-2000s Spurs, one of my favorite teams all time. And the motion offenses they ran, today's best teams, they simply max out talents at key points of the ball, such as the Celtics and Thunder have last couple of years. Use a flurry of ball movement, off-ball player movement to create what are really very beautiful offenses. And I've heard other people mention before that each team tends to learn from each other and build off years prior. And the Atlanta Hawks franchise has never seen anything like this as they do now under Quinn Snyder. The offense has those kinds of movements and fluidity as these other contenders and all-time great teams. such as mid-2000s Spurs strive for, and as well other notches. Quinn Snyder's time here at Atlanta. He's overseen Jalen Johnson's development, as well as gotten along with Trae Young. Hawks finally have a head coach that worked with Trae Young, and fans wanted to get rid of him. Seems like an absolutely insane concept to me after all the complaints of previous head coaches. And Dyson as well, he's a great story last year. Another pointer to Quinn. His regression to the three-point shot has sucked, but I would still point towards his offensive blossom. We saw a nice shot in the lane here today, and other great moments by Dyson Daniels this year. But as well, we also saw tonight Duke grad Luke Kennard have his best game of the season. 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. A player I've been especially hard on. He had a great game tonight and finally looked like a functional rotation piece. Sometime blessing of these injuries of our star players. Get more minutes to role players, the guys off the bench. They start to gel a little bit more. Things start coming a little bit more together for a team. Even when Luke Kennard was struggling, you could still see the teammates rally around him, being very friendly, especially over this last week when I really thought might want to bring in Caleb Houston, see what he would provide instead of Luke Kennard. But the team, the bench, Quinn Snyder, they all believed in him. This game really could be a turning point for Luke Kennard. And I think really points towards the great chemistry this team has. I think they have great chemistry, a great culture, environment in the Atlanta Hawks. And firing Quinn Snyder and ruining that. Replace an idea that I heard of replacing it with Mike Malone, who was fired from a contender down the stretch, replacing a guy who has great chemistry in Quinn Snyder, an all-time Hawks offensive schemes, and replacing him with a guy who's ousted by a contender. It seems like the most ludicrous idea I think I've heard about the Hawks in recent years. I can't believe anyone is taking that notion seriously. There may be a way to upgrade at head coach for the Hawks, but that certainly isn't it, and is a laughable idea. So, as mentioned, next game, Hawks versus Timberwolves. Repost updates, entry updates. Hopefully Jalen Johnson is back. Hopefully Trae Young is back. Kristaps Porzingis, be nice to see him too, but I think we're still ways on him. So this is now the 73rd episode of the BOS Sports Blogcast. Now we'll be making one weekly through the end of the World Series next year. About weekly, that is. Picking back up with the Hawks again after a break. So we'll continue this all year long. But right now, I want to highlight some of the best moments of BOS Sports Blogcasts in 2025. Many memorable moments, including a nature documentary. So here they are. We forgot we got to do our play of the day. We got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Was that the first quarter or the halftime? Dyson Daniels, he had the buzzer beater at halftime. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that was the first quarter. He went behind his back to his left hand, shot off the dribble for the half-court shot. Here is the BOS Sports Blogcast. Hawks play of the game. Oh, would you look at that? Microphone was off the whole time. I was just doing that. So here we go. Nickeil Alexander going the half. Bam! At the buzzer. Oh, that wasn't as good as what I just said a minute ago. Oh, well. We saw this 4 times already. All right. Technical difficulties foiled me again. All right. So we've got our BOS Sports Best Moments of 2025. Here we go. In May, went to some baseball games. So here we go. May 15th, Charlotte Knights, Gwinnett Stripers. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. His first rehab game had to go. There he
is at second base after this double. I'm just going to have to take in the sights and sounds there at Coolray Field as Ronald Acuna Jr. doubles in his first game. Here we go. Celebration. I was amped up, chanting MVP. Did not have many chances to do that in 2024. Of course, he went in 23. $2 beer, $2 hot night there at Coolray Field. Long lines of concessions, but they were $2. So here's another Ronald Acuna at bat. Nice day there at Coolray Field. I live on the east side of town. It still took me about an hour to get there with traffic. Not very close. Certainly going to Truist Park, a lot more convenient, at least for people like me who live in town. High fly ball. Going to be popped up to first base. There's my feet. All right. Braves, Nationals, May 12th. The Braves were 19-21 coming into this game. Alex Verdugo got the walk-off hit. It was a great game. Beautiful scenes there at Truist Park there in the bottom of the sixth inning. We'd have both that at bat with Nick Allen later. As well, I have Alex Verdugo's walk-off hit. Video of that we'll see in just a couple minutes. But here's Matt Olson, bottom of the third inning. And what was a key sequence? First ball pitched to him, change up, called strike. Foul ball, second pitch, 88.9 mile per hour cutter. Count is now 0-2 versus Jake Irvin. Jake Irvin certainly given the Braves fits in years past. It's nice to finally pick up a win on him, although he would not get the decision after National stormed back in the eighth inning and tied it. Third pitch, foul ball. They're going to have to run back. Austin Riley going to have to go all the way back to first base. At least he took the short route. 90.8 mile per hour four-seam fastball. Count is still 0-2 for Matt Olson. Matt Olson would have 2 hits in the series as he's been very streaky this year. But this was a key sequence for the Braves as later in the inning, Marcell Ozuna and Michael Harris would both have RBI hits, scoring 2 of the Braves' 4 runs on the day. Pitch, right up the middle, base hit. All right. 86.3 mile per hour changeup. I have noted, documented Braves struggles with 12-6 break. No struggle there as Jake Irvin has a nice changeup. Off-speed pitch that is, but still with some 12-6 movement. It's pretty high up there. Could not quite see if that was one of Jake Irvin's better pitches. So here, all the way in right field, bottom 6th inning, Nick Allen at bat versus Jake Irvin. Pretty hard to see from here, to be honest. They look like ants down there from this right field view. Foul ball, 90.9 power per hour sinker. Count is now 2-2 for Nick Allen. Nick Allen would have an 8-pitch at bat, very productive. always like to see Jake Irvin's pitch count go up whenever he faces the Braves. He made it all the way 6 innings. This is Jake Irvin still pitching. Very solid pitcher there for the Nationals. Certainly gives the Braves fits, and he will for many years to come. Unless the Braves can get the better of him. And here, ground ball. Jake Irvin, the first baseman. Nick Allen's out. All right, here it is. The moment of the game. Alex Verdugo walk-off hit. Alex Verdugo, he had a nice series versus the Nationals. He had 4 hits over those 4 games, fairly productive. And, of course, here with the game-winning RBI hit. He was hitting 252 at the time, or 250, excuse me, was Alex Verdugo's average on May 12th. Here he is with 1 ball, 1 strike. On Andrew Chafin, who's got a 4 ERA this year. Certainly was an interesting option. I advocated at times for the Braves. He's certainly not doing as well as others, such as Tommy Naily. I hope the pros in the front office pick up talent like that. Here comes the pitch. Swinging strike, 80.2 mile per hour on a slider. The count is 1-2 now. Chafin, he threw Alex Verdugo 7 straight sliders until he finally threw him a sinker. Pitch, ball in the dirt, 2-2, 81.1 mile per hour slider. That's 7 sliders he'd throw to Verdugo before he threw his 8th pitch, a sinker, and the walk-off hit. Here comes the pitch. Walking back, the runner there, stepping off the mound, checking Eli White. Don't want Eli White to steal third. Here comes the pitch. Fouled, 81.7 mile per hour slider, count remains 2-2. Eli White, he reached base on a single earlier that inning and was advanced on Nick Allen ground out. The Nationals had a different pitcher to start the inning and switched to Andrew Chafin for Alex Verdugo here in this clutch situation. Pitch number 6, ball in the dirt, 82.1 mile per hour slider, count 3-2. A $4 beer night. They also had reduced ticket prices. Imagine we'll probably see more of that if the Braves continue downward. And their current trajectory is now June 3rd. They're not doing so hot, unfortunately. This was a fun time, middle of May. They're certainly winning many games. Here comes the pitch. 7th pitch, 81.6 mile per hour slider. Count remains 3-2. Fouled off by Alex Verdugo. And hopefully they bring back the $4 beer nights and make them tall boys. And I thought, High Life, of course they can't sell the brand names, Miller Lite or Coors Light, for that reduced price. Walk-off hit, Alex Verdugo. In-play runs. 90.5 mile per hour sinker off of Andrew Chafin to give the Braves the walk-off victory. Dugout storms on the field in celebration. Here comes a blooper with the flag in the outfield. Fireworks going off. Stadium's definitely not packed, especially compared to what we saw at Citizens Bank last week. But everyone there was happy to get home on time, of course. Braves win 4-3 and improve to 20-21 on the year. We're currently at June 3rd, 2025, and the Braves have only won 3 of their last 10 games, losing 7, and are currently standing at 27-32, 5 games under 500, although it feels like more. 10.5 games back of the first place Mets. And it's just been a very tough season, but this was a great game to go to. I certainly enjoyed it. Hard not to with $4 Miller High Life night. Make it $4 Coors Light night. If they have to be 12 ounces, why not? There's a blooper with the flag. There's the radio and TV booths, whatnot. Here we are, checking out visitor side. Still on the visitor side. And this picture forecast upcoming segment coming here on BOS Sports Blogcast.
Yo. Oh, more technical difficulties. Doing me in again. Hard to think about the 2025 Braves season. Don't want to think about that. It was absolutely awful. Fortunately, we'll have to see another segment or two from it. But now let's go back to 2024. That wasn't so bad. At least they made the playoffs, right? Here's Phillies versus Braves at Citizens Bank Park, August 2024.
So here we go, back from August 30th, my trip to Philadelphia, seeing Phillies, Braves, August 30th, a game which the Braves won 7-2. 6-pitch, Joe Jimenez to Bryce Harper here, the bottom of the 8th inning, 1-2 pitch, fouled off, 87-mile-an-hour slider. Bryce Harper had a 10-pitch at-bat. We're really going to miss Joe Jimenez in 2025. Of course, he was announced last fall, being announced out for the year. Here comes a 7-pitch, 2-2. Slider down, ball. And here comes the 8th pitch to Bryce Harper. Joe Jimenez in 2024 had a 2.62 ERA, a sub-1 whip with 0.99, and 68.2 innings pitched. Another ball, 3-2. Count. Bryce Harper, fastball up, 95.8 miles an hour. Really wish the Braves would sign another high-leverage righty. There's still Kyle Finnegan, Luis Garcia out there for the Braves here on this date of February 12th, 2025. 9th pitch to Bryce Harper, 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And it was an absolutely brilliant inning by Joe Jimenez. He get 3 out of the 4 batters faced out. Including there's, I believe, a fan ran on the field. But here Bryce Harper goes up the middle to Michael Harris, center field, base hit. But here's another video from that night. Interesting thing that the Phillies did. They had an Elvis entertainer there. Don't have much comments for this. It was a nice, cool night there. A windy breeze. It's nice being in Philadelphia. Cool air, cool weather. I'd like to go back there. Citizens Bank Park in the summer heat of Atlanta in August. Perfect weather to eat, drink outside. It's a cool 60-ish degrees. Can even dip into the upper 50s a little bit. Get a little bit nippy. But it's a nice change of pace from the summer heat, the 90s, 100s of Atlanta. Here you see the bullpen chilling out there. I'm sure they enjoy cooling off a little bit. Here's Brian Snitker, the Braves dugout. You can see Max Fried. Miss him. Marcell Ozuna at bat, wearing the yellow protective gear. Grant Holmes, we'll see what kind of year he has for Atlanta Braves this season. And here's some pictures from April. And here's AJ Smith's Schauber from 2023. We'll see if he continues to grow. He's been really growing athletically. Ronald Acuna Jr., hope he comes back strong this year. So here we go. Dodgers Braves, September 16th. Had to go. Tickets were inexpensive. Shohei Ohtani, Max Fried. Hits it up the middle. Whit Merrifield comes home. Miguel Rojas is safe. Part of a 9-0 Dodgers defeat over the Braves. Hope the Braves have more success over the Dodgers in 2025. Here as well, some more pictures from my trip to Philadelphia, late August. Aforementioned, that weather was nice. Michael Harris had that absolute highlight catch. Did not get that on video, unfortunately.
All right, aforementioned, made a nature documentary. Do not have time to play it all right now, but we'll give a little taste. This is Beyond the Stadium, as teased in the first games clip showed a minute ago.
Viewable from the concourse at Truist Park behind sections 425 and 325. Just beyond the stadium, at 10.5 miles away, lies the Monadnock, that is Kennesaw Mountain. Boasting a modest 1,808 feet above sea level, is considered the highest point in metropolitan Atlanta. It is loaded with history from the Hadeen Eon to the Civil War, which is actually as well how the history of Kennesaw Mountain ties into the history of Major League Baseball. Before we get into the history of Kennesaw Mountain and its connection to Major League Baseball, of course, with the first Major League Baseball commissioner being named after it, Kennesaw Mountain Landis. First, take a look here. The beautiful sights of Kennesaw Mountain. Nice scenery here close Atlanta. Of course, Blue Ridge Mountain's not far away. The Kennesaw Mountain is not a part of that mountain range aforementioned. It is a Monadnock, standalone mountain here. And adjacent to it is Little Kennesaw and Pigeon Hill. It is quite a physical 1 mile to the top of Kennesaw Mountain, 1 mile straight up to that 1,808-foot summit. There's side trails all along it, different ways to cut out and carve out a nice day hiking. If you want to take a short hike, you can go up or down the mountain. As well, there's biking areas, roads. If you want to do the full Monty, it's 16.2 miles from Visitor Center to Cold Farm and back. Not a ton of elevation, though. So here's Kennesaw Mountain Landis and the history on that. The first commissioner of Major League Baseball, Kennesaw Mountain Landis, was fathered by a man named Abraham Landis, who served as an assistant surgeon with the 35th Ohio Volunteer Infantry Regiment during the American Civil War at the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain on that fateful day of June 27th, when Abraham was severely wounded when a ricocheting cannonball struck his left leg below the knee, shattering it horribly. As a medical man himself, he likely understood the gravity of his injury. The wound required extensive hospital recovery and ended his military service, leading to his honorable discharge on September 27, 1864. But it did not prevent him from giving birth to or fathering Kennesaw Mountain Landis. His name is spelled with one N in Kennesaw. It was an interchangeable spelling at the time. It has since been formatted to the current spelling of Kennesaw with two N's. He was born on November 20th, 1866 in Millville, Ohio, where he had a long career in law, running his own corporate law practice in Chicago, as well as serving as a personal secretary to Walter Q. Grisham, Secretary of State under Grover Cleveland. It was these successes that landed Kennesaw Mountain Landis the job of Judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. He served in this position from 1905 to 1920 and overlaps with when he became Commissioner of Major League Baseball in 1920. His first prominent order of duty and primary reason for being appointed to the Commissioner of Baseball had to do with the scandal around the 1919 White Sox, who intentionally threw the 1919 World Series in exchange for money from gamblers, involved at least 8 players accused, including the legend Shoeless Joe Jackson. Gambling at the time Major League Baseball was a widespread problem. The 1919 World Series was a breaking point for the league and Major League Baseball. Kennesaw Mountain was voted to be appointed by the 8 Major League Baseball owners at the time to be a commissioner, a small committee in November 2020, with the owners stating they wanted an iron fist ruling over the game and shortly stated he would as well. The day after the Black Sox, nicknamed.
So that is the BOS Sports Beyond the Stadium documentary. Can be viewed in full on YouTube and wherever else it is. Not sure. Yeah, that term, monognock. Say that 5 times fast. What a tongue twister. My goodness. And interesting to think about that. Doing that segment, and of course the current situation in the NBA and some of the gambling situations that have gone on recently. I wonder if we'll see that some in other sports, MLB, NFL, probably. As well, it was rumored, interesting note, FanDuel Sports might have its days numbered, and there's some situation up with that. Try to repost that at some point in the next, but it'd be interesting. Of course, since it was Fox Sports regional, it's been Bally Sports, and now also Casino Bally, and now FanDuel Sports. So, be interesting to see where that heads. As far as now, let's look at some Hawks clips, and we'll look again the Braves one more time before heading out here in this episode. So after I mentioned, the Hawks trying to figure out their offense with Deion Johnson out, Zachary Reed-Shea out, as well DeAndre Hunter was out this game. Here comes Trey on a drive. He tries to lob it to Clint Capella. Clint did not quite get there. Maybe a bit of miscommunication. Turnover, the Raptors get fouled on the other end. So here comes the next play. The Hawks inbound it. And Trae Young's going to bring up the floor. Get a nice fast break opportunity. Try to dish it to Clint Capella in the lane. The ball slips out. And Trey gets it back. Nice floaty shot. It's the basket. So here comes Dyson Daniels, bringing the ball up the floor. We see him play some point guard with Kobe Buffkin out for the rest of the season. Pass on Onyeka Okongwu. Screen for Garrison Matthews. Three-pointer. Bang. Down. Good to see Garrison Matthews hit a three-point shot after struggling a bit for last week. Another play. V. Krejci bringing the ball up the floor. He plays some point guard as well. Another screen play for Garrison Matthews. That one's off. So here comes Bogey on the drive. He's going to get blocked on a shot, get the ball back, pass it to V. Krejci here in the corner. He's going to swing around to Dyson. Like to see Dyson make the shot. Fortunately, that's his spot. Like to see him hit those. Here comes Dyson bringing the ball up the floor. Again. Swings around to Larry Nance Jr. in the corner. V. Krejci here on the three-point line. Back to Larry Nance in the post. It's going to be a 24-shot violation. Larry Nance, you got to get the ball up there and take a shot. And another Hawks turnover. The Hawks would have 22 turnovers in this game. Here's another one. Ugh. Dyson stepping out of bounds and the pass to the corner. Here comes Dyson again. Bring the ball up the floor. Trae Young the game. Pass to Larry Nance. Good screen there. Drives it in the lane. Pass on Onyeka Okongwu in the corner. Hits the three-point shot. Onyeka's been more solid from three recently. Good to see. Trae Young, interesting. Here we go. Last play, the first half for the Atlanta Hawks. 22 seconds left. Trae is inbounding it. Baseline. V. Krejci's going to come off a screen set by Dyson Daniels. 12. Aforementioned, this is best BOS Sports Blogcast 2025. Boy, that Raptors team sure looked scary early this season. Of course, that clip was from last season when they were not so good, but they've certainly cooled off a bit. Be an interesting story to see the rest of the season how they do. Next, we got one more Hawks clip, got a Braves clip, and then we'll wrap things up here. Oh, God, that hurt like hell. Oh, God, that hurt like hell. Oh, whoops. That was me throwing a fish in 2024. Huh. All right, here's the right thing. Before we get to Dyson, it's what it's like to go to the game opening introductions with the Georgia Natural Gas Flamethrower. You can feel that thing from your seat. All All right, getting into Dyson Daniels. There he is on the graphic screen there. Here we go. He starts out with a nice pick and roll play with Onyeka and Kagwu. Onyeka sets the pick, passes to Onyeka in the lane, basket. Nice floater there. Yeah, Dyson, very aggressive here. Drive to the basket, missed it. Too many passes here. The Hawks get it back off the Larry Nance miss. Offensive rebound. And passes to Onyeka, to Veet, to Bogey. And then over to Dyson Daniels in the corner. He should have shot there, but he passed again, resulting in turnover. And nice drive here by Dyson. The Hawks, this is their first game without Jalen Johnson out. They're kind of reeling, figuring out different things to do on offense. Here, Onyeka on Kagwu, he had a drive in the lane as Larry Nance Jr. set an off-ball screen for Veet Krejci. He liked to take a shot as Veet was absolutely on fire in this game. He had 6 3-point shots, 4 in the first half. I happened to record all 4 of them. There's his first. Here comes his second here. Drive, kick, Larry Nance. Screen, Larry Nance. Shot, Veet Krejci gets to the spot. Hits down the 3-point shot there. Here comes Veet again. Gets to the spot right there. Gosh, watching that just brings back terrible memories, to be honest. It was the best of BOS Sports Blogcast, but worse of the Lane Hawks season at that point. Just days after the Jalen Johnson shoulder injury. And really hope Hawks keep that in mind going forward in his use and how he plays as well. I'm glad that he's been a little bit reserved on defense this year, as that was, I believe, how he injured himself versus the Pistons on that fateful day. Nice for him to get a day off, even though it's from illness. So coming back from that surgery, hopefully they remain mindful in that. And bittersweet watching that. All right, one more Braves clip here. So here we go. Braves Cardinals, April 22nd at Truist Park. Here's Scott Blewett versus Nolan Gorman. Top the first inning. Gorman, of course, had the key hit in the 8th. First pitch, foul, 84.7 mile per hour slider. Despite his potentially comical name, Scott Blewett has been solid for the Braves in his 3 appearances so far. His last 2 have been scoreless versus the Rockies and Diamondbacks, combined 2.1 innings. Here comes the 0-1 pitch. Down, coming straight back at me. Ooh, landed right below me there. Thought I had a chance. I'm pretty high up there, so. And that was 84.1 mile per hour splitter. Scott Blewett has Nolan Gorman down the count early here. This would be the only game where Scott Blewett has allowed runs so far for the Braves in his 3 appearances. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Ball, 93.8 mile per hour fastball. We now have 1 ball and 2 strikes. Blewett went 3 innings, allowed 4 hits in this game, 2 runs, 2 walks. This is the only strikeout here. 1-2 pitch. Another ball, high and tight, look like. 94 mile per hour fastball. 2-2. The count is now even. Nolan Gorman, aforementioned, 3-run RBI single, top of the 8th, break the game open. Ugh. Tough for us Braves fans that game. 2-2 pitch. Ball, 85.4 mile per hour splitter. We now have a full count of 3-2. Cardinals would score 6 in the last 2 tops of the innings on their way to the 10-4 victory. It was not a fun game. I booed pretty loud. 3-2 pitch, swinging strike, 84.3 miles per hour. That was booing. All those runs came across the plate. I booed as loud as possible. I booed for 10 people, if that is possible. So it was a great night otherwise. Always the best 2 times of the year to go to Truist Park, or in the spring early, and in October when it's cool, nice temperature for drinking beverages. It's 60s, 70s kind of temperatures there. It got a little bit rainy. I don't mind. I like a little bit of drizzle.
at some Braves batting average. Braves batting action. Here's Jared Kelenic at the plate versus Andre Palante. Bottom of the second inning. First pitch, swinging strike. We have Orlando Arcia there on deck. And here comes a 1 pitch. Might have been the 0-2 pitch. It looked like a ball in dirt there. 1-2 count. 87.3 mile per hour slider. Palante gave up all the runs for the Cardinals that day as Cardinals bullpen was scoreless and Palante gave up the 4 runs. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Foul ball. 94.2 mile per hour fastball. Jared Kelenic, he was just sent down to AAA today. Tough news for Jared Kelenic. 1-2 pitch, another ball. Got an even count on 76 mile per hour knuckle curve. Beat writer Gabe Burns was quoted as saying in an interview from Jared Kelenic that he was in high spirits and looking at it as an opportunity. So hopefully that's a positive thing. Hopefully he comes back strong. The Braves will need outfielders in the second half. They'll need position players, even with Ronald Acuna Jr. coming back. Can't wait till that happens. And so here is now the 3-2 pitch. Full count. Foul ball, high and tight, 95.4 mile per hour fastball. And tough news with Jared Kelenic being sent down to AAA. Aforementioned, Halfley comes back strong. Andre Palante and Orlando Arcia, he's there in the batter's box. So Kelenic, he would on a 3-2 pitch ground out. I wanted to mention Arcia is standing quite a far ways outside of that on deck circle. It's something I noticed all game. The Braves hitters were a little bit further out than I've seen them before. We've seen us do that a little bit more situationally, but this game they were often out there. So it was a nice game otherwise, other than the blown lead. Don't remind me. The one game I get to go to in April. And so I got the general admissions ticket. I like to move around whenever I get that. A few different upper deck sections. I got to check out the outfield, get some pictures there. Don't like to get on my phone too much, but I got a little bit of pictures and video. And so here we have an Austin Riley at bat. Alex Verdugo just doubled and got on base. And Austin Riley's about to drive him in here. So we got a ball there.
So it's been a great episode. It's been a great year. Thanks for joining. Next year we'll have even better episodes. Be sure to stream previous episodes of BOS Sports Blogcast. Be sure to stream BOS Bar Soap Music on your favorite streaming platform. And we'll see you soon next week with the next episode.